third and final session of the weekend with Burt and Susie, and I'm looking very much forward to it, and I hope you too. So here we are, Burt. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, well, good afternoon. Yesterday we covered the 4 unknown facts of reality. But what I was wondering today is, did any of you realize that when I talked the first principle, I was talking about you? I did mention that the I am is the #1 unknown. And so when you begin to relate to it as yourself, this is when it becomes more part and parcel of your own being. You will understand it even better. So collectively, you, the I am of you, is the one that I mentioned at the beginning of the 4 unknown facts. And which means also that you are the emptiness itself. Like Krishnamurti says, it's the quiet mind that is naturally yours, full of potential. Number 2 had to do with the emptiness as the greatest fear. So if you experienced any fear, did you find that you are simply aware of the feeling of emptiness? And the reason I'm putting that there down now down to you is because the subject we're going to cover today is one of the most powerful of all for awakening much faster. And the topic is forgiveness, how to forgive, and the power of that. You know, when we think we are the body, we always cover a feeling inside us, filled with insecurity, separation, fear, discomfort. But when we begin to deal with that, we begin to understand that we are the collective one. I'd like you to listen to a reading now on forgiveness given by Jesus, which I took from the Course in Miracles. Could you read that, please?
Sure, sweetie. Okay. So this is from the workbook. It's workbook lesson number 62 from A Course in Miracles. It is your forgiveness that will bring the world of darkness to the light. It is your forgiveness that lets you recognize the light in which you see. Forgiveness is the demonstration that you are the light of the world. Through your forgiveness, does the truth about yourself return to your memory. Therefore, in forgiveness lies your salvation. Illusions about yourself and the world are one. That is why all forgiveness is a gift to yourself. Your goal is to find out who you are, having denied your true identity by attacking creation and its creator. Now you are learning how to remember the truth. For this attack must be replaced by forgiveness, so that the thoughts of life may replace thoughts of death. Remember that in every attack, you call upon your own weakness, while each time you forgive, you call upon the strength of Christ in you. Do you not then begin to understand what forgiveness will do for you? It will remove all sense of weakness, strain, and fatigue from your mind. It will take away all fear and guilt and pain. It will restore the invulnerability and power that God gave his Son to your awareness.
Wow, that is so beautiful.
Mhm.
Those were the direct words of Jesus himself when it was transcribed to a woman who was a social,
She was a psychologist
she was a
at
psychologist,
Columbia
right?
University in New
That's
York
right,
City.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's still, wow, what words. Okay, so what we're going to be covering now is how to forgive. This is a very tall order, but it requires that you become aware of how you feel about yourself. This means that you don't have to do a job of trying to find out. It's just to sit very still and get the feeling of any separation that you might feel, even in the moment, for example. Any feeling that you have of separation is how you are blocking the very awareness of the I am that you truly are. When you, through forgiveness, realize that you are I am, you are the collective, or you among the collective one, in other words. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that go through people to
Okay.
forgive.
Okay. For instance, the reason it's the fastest way to awakening is because usually we're unhappy, and even though we might think we're blaming the weather or blaming the government or blaming something, we're actually blaming a person, and we're in our mind our ex-girlfriend, our husband, our wife, our brother, our mother, our father, our sister, our boss. We're holding resentments against them, and we're it may not be conscious, it may not be in our consciousness, but we're unhappy and we're blaming them for that problem. And so what forgiveness does is it turns it around completely, and it makes you see that that what you were accusing them is actually what you're accusing yourself of. And by recognizing it, you can see the silliness of it and you can forgive it. And then you now have the opportunity to be happy and to just feel the natural flow of love because you're no longer resenting that person. For instance, you have some good forgiveness stories.
Oh yes, yes. When I was about 8 years old, I was an altar boy to the Catholic Church, to a priest. This priest got to know me very well, but there was a time when he abused me sexually. That was so frightening to me, so unexpected, that I ran away, and I didn't want to have anything to do with the religion or the church. I didn't want to tell anybody about this particular case. For many, many years, I held it inside me. One time I was a teenager and was rather depressed. And it was a very stormy day. In Malta, when it rains, I mean, it's a storm. People stay inside, they don't even go to work, but it doesn't happen very often. But in this particular day, a very stormy day, I was very close to the railings where the beach was close by, like it was on the street, but the beach was about 20-foot drop from where I was. The way I felt, depressed, the way I was feeling, I kind of leaned over, looked at the downstairs, the beach, the rocks, and a big gust of wind threw me over. and I fell into those rocks 20 feet down. Prior to hitting the rocks, I went out of the body. When I went out of the body, I began to see things in a whole new way. I felt so good. I didn't even want to care about the body being thrown around on the rocks. I saw two men seeing my body, putting it into the truck and going away with it, assuming, of course, that they might have been going to the hospital. But in the meantime, what is interesting here, as far as forgiving is concerned, and it's something that taught me a big lesson, is that at the moment of that I was out of the body, I felt so good. I felt so pure. And don't forget that there's no time and space at that particular level of being. But what is interesting, and I don't want to belabor the point because it was a beautiful experience and I could go on and on and on. When I recall it, I feel so incredibly good. But what I want to state at this point is that the first thing that came to mind was the priest who abused me. But instead of seeing a threat, instead of seeing something wrong, I was in love with that priest, believe it or not. I understood why he did what he did. Because in the religion of the Catholic religion, you are deprived of sex. Well, if you deny yourself a very natural urge, you build up a greater need for it. And because I was very open with him, because we were very friendly, he took advantage of it at one point, but he lost control and he did something that frightened me as an 8-year-old. This is what happened to me now that I'm talking about is quite a few years later. I was a teenager. This is the interesting part. I wondered where my body was, and immediately I was inside it in the hospital. The only thing I was full of pain. I was full of blood. Nothing was broken, believe it or not, but I was complete mess, the body. But all I could think of was meeting that priest, getting to say to that priest, no, I forgive you. I am okay. And I understand why this happened. And in the long plan, it wasn't really as wrong as I have thought it was. So you see, this is the beautiful thing, is that when we don't forgive, we're not seeing things truly. We're seeing them through an ego point as bad, as shouldn't. But there is an understanding part in us, a deeper, wiser knowing that whatever happens, happens because of a reason. Anyway, when I was released from the hospital, and it didn't take too long, to patch me up, a few days, I went looking for the priest. Unfortunately, I never found him. But the thing is that I want to share with you is that the first thing that happened to me was I loved him. Not only I forgave him, I loved him because I saw his heart. I didn't see the act itself. I see that he wanted to get close to me, but because of rules, because of construction, what would be the word? Because of the restraint that he was under, he lost a little bit of control. So anyway, so that is the point I'm trying to make. That when we start to live from the light of our being, forgiveness becomes a very natural thing. The moment you forgive everything, even the next door neighbor that called you names or anything at all, the moment you forgive, and you forgive yourself for even feeling bad about it, you forgive any grievance that you have about anyone, that very forgiveness begins the complete restoration of your nature, which means that in your being you are already forgiving everybody, because in your true nature there is no hate, there is no any negativity at all. Negativity doesn't exist in your spirit, but in your body, oof, it's full of it. You see, and all poisons of the mind stick to the body in the form of unforgiveness. So what I'm trying to say here is that the part of us which is spirit, which is the true you, is full of forgiveness. So every time you forgive, you move closer and closer to that which you are, until you begin to realize not only your body becomes healthier and happier and lighter and freer and younger, but most importantly is that it's not in the way as it used to be. You feel lighter. And you feel lighter because you are love. You realize that you are the collective. And I repeat the word collective because when I was in the light, I was everyone. When I saw those two men taking my body and putting it into their truck and taking it to the hospital, they were very caring. They were very compassionate. They were very beautiful. And I could see the way they were thinking and feeling. So this is what I would like you to understand about forgiveness, that forgiveness, every time you forgive anything that has happened to you or you think is going to happen, you move closer and closer to the spirit that you have always been. Your body has always been, your body is only for a short time. If you happen to be 88 years old like I am, I only had it for 88 years. That's nothing when you consider the amount of life that we have lived. We are eternal, we are immortal, we've never been born. To realize that alone starts bringing the courage that you never die. And death is not there. So when yesterday I mentioned the two unknown facts, the first one is that you are the emptiness. But I mentioned it as God or love, and then we go into emptiness. But that emptiness is you right now. And I was wondering if any of you ever gave it a thought as, why I am that I am, that part. I am the collective one. And then number two, I wanted to address, if you ever have anything that is bothering you now as a fear, as a problem, to see in it what it is trying to tell you. That in your heart, and I refer the heart to the spirit that you are. So therefore, I'm talking to the spirit here. That when you look at something right now in you that is really bothering you, stop for a moment. If you can be still enough to see that all it is a fear of emptiness. Well, the moment you see that all fears, all of them, are all a fear of emptiness, the moment you see that, it starts bringing you deeper and deeper into the spirit that you are, and you see that there is nothing wrong there. That starts to become forgiveness. Do you think I'm being clear in this?
Yes. So forgiveness is not seeing that you were wronged and then out of mercy and kindness and betterness deciding that, hey, you did that to me, but I'm letting you get away with it. You're actually seeing the dynamic of what's happening, where you're projecting your own unconscious guilt out onto somebody. Like for instance, Byron Katie, her work is basically the equivalent of forgiveness as described in the Course. You basically question as to whether or not you would forgive yourself of what you're forgiving, what you're blaming the other for. And in the case of, we watched something online the other day with Byron Katie where somebody who was a diversity trainer went into a meeting in somewhere in the US, and she was doing the work or the forgiveness work with Byron Katie. This is a beautiful example. And she blamed this man she met at the meeting. He said to her, "I don't see color," and she immediately judged herself in her mind that he's being
Because she's
prejudiced
Asian.
because she was Asian and he
Yeah.
was white. And then Byron Katie gets her to turn around. She quite asks her, "Is it really true? Is it really true that this guy was being prejudiced against you?" And she realized she didn't have any way to know because she doesn't know what his motives really are. And so she turned it around to, "Am I prejudiced against him?" And she realized, yes, because I prejudged him to be prejudiced against me when I really have no idea whatsoever what he's thinking. And then the final turnaround was, would I accuse myself of this? And she saw she was being prejudiced against herself because she was denying herself the loving connection with her brother whom she'd met at this meeting. So that was a beautiful example.
Yeah.
And at that moment that we're doing it to ourselves, we're basically separating ourselves from these opportunities we have for loving each other.
Yeah. Another thing too that happened is that after my abuse, prior to this out of body experience, I carried a feeling of loneliness. I belonged to the Boy Scouts. I had lots of friends, but I've always felt lonely because when I was abused, I thought this is very wrong, and I never told my parents about it. So nobody actually knew. I never talked about it, but I carried it inside me all the time. And it manifested as nobody loves me. Nobody wants me. I am all alone. And that loneliness was gut-wrenching. And when I had this experience and finally forgave him, I saw clearly that there was nothing wrong in what actually happened. And it was total and absolute forgiveness. The forgiveness actually turned into love because we see the totality, that actions themselves do not speak very loudly except in our minds. Where do I go from here? So the point we're going to be discussing soon is how to forgive. See, the forgiveness is not a very difficult thing to do. The moment you try to understand that how I'm feeling is a fear, something wrong, that something wrong always have a fear of emptiness in it, because the emptiness, which is regarded as the second unknown fact, the unknown, the four unknown facts, the second unknown fact is termed as the greatest human suffering. And that greatest human suffering is all of it based on fear of emptiness, all of it. So now what I'd like you to see is, and if you do see it clearly, how was that, how I felt the loneliness and how I felt I was unloved, how was that the fear of emptiness? Can somebody tell me, please? Can you tell me, Peter?
How was what, the fear of emptiness?
Yeah, how was that a fear of emptiness?
How was what, the fear of emptiness? You just
My loneliness.
Oh, your loneliness.
After being abused.
Okay.
I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I look at your face.
I want
Was that?
other people. I want to offer the opportunity for other people as well. I feel like I've taken a lot of time.
Yeah, but why do I feel so lonely at that point when after being abused? Because I felt bad.
Is that because you separated from a brother in your mind, or what would cause the sense of loneliness?
That's right. The moment I felt somebody has done something wrong, immediately I separated. That separation becomes almost immediately. But what causes the separation is because we do not feel connected. And because we don't feel connected, immediately there is a separation. That separation makes me an outcast, so to speak. But the reason I feel the lack of connection, I feel that I am alone, is because in truth, I am one with everyone. But at that point, I feel as if I am separate from them because they are lucky and I am not, that type of thing. Okay. So in regard of thinking that you are the body and you are separate, that very thought of separation creates a feeling of loneliness. And that feeling of loneliness is a feeling of not being loved, not being cared for, not feeling so important, not feeling wanted, in other words, not feeling complete. But all that comes from a fear of emptiness. The fear of emptiness is always a feeling that something is going to end us, an ending, emptiness. I'm going to die. For example, the doctor says you've got cancer. Immediately, what do you think of? I'm going to die. Now, why is it so fearful to die? Because you really think you're not going to be anymore. But in truth, there is no death. Did you know what death is? And I experienced it twice in my life. It's just like going from one room to another. That's all. It's as simple as that. But the thing is that the moment you are in your outer being, the people that you've been around, you look at them and say, hey, why are you ignoring me? But they're not seeing you, you see? Because you don't know you're dead. When you're dead, you don't know you're dead in the beginning until you see your body. And then the moment you see your body, you say, oh my gosh, I died. But it doesn't feel as bad as you thought it might. Because that fear, which is the greatest fear of all, is no longer there. The collective comes and takes over. Now, when I say collective, it means that what I'm not referring to your body. I am referring to you as you, the spirit. And when you are the spirit itself, when you are living from the spirit, fear cannot exist anymore. Nothing negative can exist because there is no time and space. So here we understand something very, very clearly here. The reason we have so many fears, the reason we have so much suffering is the body itself is living in time. And time always creates a separation. The fear of yesterday and tomorrow, which in truth does not exist because there is no time, really. In truth, there is no time. But the body creates the idea of time because it ages and it creates that kind of constant change. But you do not change. The spirit that you are never changes. Now, sorry, Peter, the reason I pointed you out is because you have such a beautiful face. You're so aware, you know, and I thought you might have the answer right away. Thank you. I love
Burt,
you.
can I ask? This is Deborah.
Yes, please.
Hi. How is fear of physical pain, fear of emptiness?
Oh, yes.
I've always thought that people don't fear death; they fear the pain before death that could happen in an
But the
accident.
pain reminds you of something less, of separation. It always, see, this is what pain does, physical pain. It brings the feeling that you are somehow not complete. And you become very much aware of the body. The moment you become totally aware of the body, you begin to think of its limitation. The moment you think of its limitation, immediately you begin to think of death, whether you believe it or not. But the idea of death is always there in our subconscious or the unconscious or whatever you want to call it, is always behind there. Something is happening to me. See, if we learn to deal with our pain, we'll find that the pain will no longer stay as pain. It will begin to change. I experienced quite a few different things to the body in my life. I was a gymnast. I've been hurt so many times. I've been car accident. I've been a bicycle accident happened actually just a few, how long ago? But a few months ago.
3 years ago.
Is it a few years ago?
Mhm.
I'm not conscious of time. Okay. So a guy hit me in the bicycle to the side here and threw me 6 feet on the road. And but I forgave him right away. So the point is that my body was a bloody mess. Now, that evening, I had a date with a couple, a Chinese couple who are now in China, Jet and Chichi, right? And that evening, he saw my body all scarred and everything else. But because he believed in me, because he believed that I can handle pain, he took a lot of pictures of my body. And it was my arms, my chest, my back, my legs. And I said, why did you take the pictures? He said, Burt, because I know you. When I come and see you again, you'll probably be healed, completely healed and gone. And it did. It happened that way. Here I have a broken bone. One time I was in a restaurant and I don't see very well. So as I was walking, and I was with, what's her name?
Rachel.
Rachel, right? We're upstairs in the restaurant. And I slipped. And when I slipped, my hand fell down and it was all crunchy and it flamed, you know, it grew red and terrible and it was all crooked. And she looked at my hand. She said, I'll take you to the hospital, take you to the doctor right away. And I said, no, I'll be okay. And she started calling me stubborn and all kinds of names, but that's okay. I'm used to it. And so I said to her, in a few weeks, it will be back to normal. And it's completely back to normal, except that finger is still kind of funny.
Oh, you heard it in that accident?
In that accident, yeah. So what I'm trying to say is this, okay? Are you there still?
She's there. Mm-hmm.
Where is she?
She's here.
Oh, she's there. Oh, there you are. Okay. Yeah. She doesn't.
That's because my speaker view is not working. It's going
all
to
right,
someone
yeah.
else.
Yeah, I just want to be looking at you as best I can. When you experience pain, that doesn't mean, did you know that that pain is in your mind, not in your body? Very few people know that. Even doctors don't know that. But Course in Miracles makes it clear that everything is in our mind, happening in our mind. And the moment we start to realize that, we're able to control it. We're able to deal with the pain. And when it finally dawned on me that everything is in my mind, everything, you know, and the mind is also collective. But the one mind that we have on earth, for example, is very much believing in all thoughts and everything that happens. So we make it real. But pain is in the mind. And when we start seeing that my body is a subject of my mind, then you find that incredible things happen to the body. I'll give you other examples, okay? Now, I stayed home for a long time. I think I have a cold or something. What was it that I stayed home with you for quite a couple of weeks? I didn't go out.
I don't remember what it was. You were just feeling tired.
Yeah, I was weak and tired. And anyway, so I stayed home. But what happened is one time she said, Burt, it's about time for us to go out. Well, did you know that when we go out, I felt heavy walking? I could hardly walk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was walking like a very old man, you know? It's as if I needed a cane. So therefore I thought, oh no, I can't put up with this. So when I came home, I have a guy, a friend of us. Actually, he's working on us
He's working on the other Zoom sessions.
The Zoom sessions with us, right? You know, and what did he do? Right, I keep forgetting there. Has to do with the walk.
Oh,
Oh yeah, he got us a double, two
Set of
dumb-
weights,
a set
yeah.
of weights, right? And so I wanted those two weights to start bodybuilding again. I wanted to start squatting and running and jumping. And he said, you know, at your age, he said, yes, because I used to be a bodybuilder. And many years ago, I was Mr. Eastern Canada. So I'm in bodybuilding here, but I have stopped it for a long, long time. But now I thought my body will start understanding that the muscle sense will start to come back. And now every afternoon, Susie and I, we work with weights. We do yoga. I stand on my shoulders and, you know, upside down so that my body can experience gravity. And it's an amazing thing. I only do it for about 10 minutes a day. And the improvement in my walking, in my doing everything is completely changed. Did I get younger? No. But what happens is that my body regained its memory of how it was.
So
And
you kind of forgave the idea that because I'm this age, I can't be muscular and lean, and I can't
exactly.
I can't be light on my feet. But now you
Right.
found out that that wasn't true.
That's right. That's something that we keep telling ourselves. We have an incredible capabilities. I'm glad that you told me about how you know that you have pain, because pain can be so real, so incredibly you know controlling. But when you begin to see the power of the mind and the visualization ability of the mind, the power that we have is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now, I'm not saying that I don't get hurt. I do, and very often. But I'm able to deal with it. Another thing that used to happen too, when I first went out with Susie, and I didn't go out very often, I couldn't see the ground, so I needed her to hold my hand because I'm blind. So I don't see the stuff that's on the road, you know. What do you call the curves, right? So when I walked by myself, it was easy for me to slip and fall. But when I fell, I found it very hard to get up again, you know. So I felt kind of stupid. There I am on the floor, and I forgot how to get up right away on my feet like I used to. So what did I do? I said to Susie, I said, go down, lie on the floor, and then get up. And I want to see the movement that you make, which I forgot to make the same movements. Now I do the same movements and I get up very fast.
Yeah, you just spring right up now.
Right. So what I'm saying here, I'm sorry to keep talking about me, and I apologize for that. But these are true examples that we have powers we don't know. And whatever is happening to the body is happening to the mind. Now, when you start conquering the mind, which is a thought process, incidentally, and thoughts are not real. Thoughts all come from everywhere. But if we believe them to be real, they control us. And the thoughts are always saying, oh, you're just a body. Oh, you're just this age. Oh, you're just this, you're just that. And we believe it. And because we believe it, it's true. We have tremendous power. And what you believe always comes true. Always, always, always. Another thing that I know for a fact, I'm talking about myself here, but it's another for example, is that when I went to China, I was paid quite a bit of money, more than I've ever seen in my life. But because I had so much, every time I saw a person in the street begging, I just couldn't stand it. So I gave him quite a bit of money. And I gave it to everybody. Even a bus driver saw me coming and he stopped for me, and he didn't have to. And because of that, I gave him $100. So my money was too soon gone. But you know, the one thing that happens is that we find ourselves with very short cash, which we are at the moment. but the rent is always paid, everything is paid, everything comes. Why? Because I know that when you trust takes care of you completely. Trust I am. The I am that you are is not the body that you think you are. The I am that you are is that part of the totality of the collective, God, if you will. And you are that. And the moment you allow it completely, believe it completely, then you find that you're not a victim. Victims don't exist. Victims are all in the mind. You see, and then you begin to see yourself in a whole new way. And the part of the forgiveness, and I'm taking a long time to get to it, is to forgive ourselves every time we think we are limited in any way, that we think we are.
Looks like, how do you pronounce it? Jagdish has a question.
Yeah. Bert, you said there's so what is this timeless state they talk about all the time? Timeless. What is like we know is time. Timeless state.
I'm sorry, I'm not on
The
this.
question was, what is this timeless state? All we know here is time. So what is this timeless state that you're talking about?
Yeah. Okay. This is good. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't understand it clearly. The timeless state, there's no such thing as time. Time simply doesn't happen. And we know that when we experience a form of death and we come back through resuscitation, for example, as so millions of cases have happened and proven this. But when we live in time, because we have clocks, because everything seems to happen in linear fashion, like it takes time to go from here to there, okay, seemingly. Whereas in the spirit world, everything happens at once. So, for example, we know that when we pass away from the body, we might feel that we need to get another body, which is called reincarnation, in order to learn certain lessons we need to learn before on Earth. So you keep looking for a different body. So when we keep changing body, we think we are changing, but change is not happening. The spirit is always the same. So in truth, reincarnation in the total picture doesn't really happen. Now, the reason I'm mentioning that is because it seems there is time. But how do you explain? You see, when we are the body itself, it goes through change all the time. Because of that change, we think in terms of time. I'm going into my head, feeling my spirit here. So in spirit, there is no time. Everything happens at once. When I was in the hospital, I saw how I knew what everybody was feeling, thinking, being. And then I went into the other one. But in truth, and you made it clear to me that said, Bert, you were not seeing one after the other. You saw them all at once, right? Because there's no time. And it's true. Everything was at once. So I was part of that collective. Time happens, I guess, because when consciousness was created, we want to play a separate part. We decided, that's called the fall of man, incidentally, when the change came, when scientists says it was the Big Bang. And the Big Bang, that's the only way they can understand it, is it happened to be material forms, and then the material form created the world we know, which is, of course, a little absurd. But somehow or other, we want to believe that the time actually started when we were born. There is a time when we were born, but that doesn't mean that we did not exist prior to that. We existed as pure essence, pure being, pure awareness. And that pure awareness then became consciousness. Now, many people nowadays teach that consciousness is everything. No, it isn't. Pure awareness is everything. But because in psychology and we don't go deep enough beyond when the world was one, we can't conceive of it. We only know when the time actually started. So when the consciousness came into being, oh, okay. Are you still here?
He's there, but it's switched somehow.
Switched.
Yeah.
Where is he?
There. Oh, now we're back again. I have to show you. I'll have to show gallery view, sweetie. He's there.
He's there. Oh, okay, there you are. There you are. I'm sorry. I don't see well, and besides that, the screen keeps changing, and all of a sudden I lose you, and I said, "Oh my God, he's gone, no longer here." What was I saying?
Talking about time as being
right, and
mechanism of consciousness.
Time consciousness started when we started being conscious, when we started having bodies. You see, so consciousness started creating bodies. And these bodies were given names, and then before we know it, male and female, etc., etc. So before we know it, we begin to believe that we are the body. And the moment you believe you are the body, you begin to learn how to walk and how to relate, and etc., etc., which requires time. So a child in the beginning, he's pure awareness, but by the time he's 2 years old and he's given a name, then he begins to relate to that name as if he is that name, you see? And then when he starts walking and relating to the people around him, he says, oh yeah, I am separate from everybody and I'm learning to walk. But these things create a semblance of time taking place. But if you meditate deeply into the very essence of things, you'll find that the very truth is here now. There is only one truth in our consciousness, and that is called now, the now. There was a guy who wrote a book called The Power of Now, Cartoli. It was a powerful book, very good. Now, the power of now means that in that now, there is no time. The only way that we can transcend time in our awareness is by meditating on the timeless. So you close your eyes and you feel your moment. Your moment is so complete. It's so beautiful, you see. And incidentally, Krishnamurti used to refer to that state all the time. So what is time? I'm sorry, I can't put it in words. I don't know the words to tell you, except that we all experience time because it seems that time is taking place. However, you know, when you think back, like I'm 88 years of age, and I look back, and when I look back, sometimes I remember the past, although my memory is saying goodbye to me. But it went so fast. Like, oh wow, you know, last week was here yesterday. So time is going faster. Well, in a way, it is faster because our consciousness is developing faster. So as we become more conscious, more aware, the faster time seems to go. But nothing is changing. It seems that our consciousness creates a concept of time, and the more we live in time, the more we actually suffer time. But when we start seeing that our essence is ageless, our essence is immortal, eternal being, and pure love, when we begin to understand that, then we begin to see very clearly that time never existed. And so we on earth go through time and suffer because of time. And suffering can be a big thing, because even if you go to hospital and get late for a whole month, for a whole week, you find it difficult to start walking and start doing like what you did before, you know. So because as you go into time called aging, the body itself starts to what's called atrophy faster. Like when I started using weights, because I had an experience with Ramana Maharshi in 73. I completely gave up all activity, all bodybuilding and everything else, and started wanting to do nothing more, just yoga, which of course doesn't build muscle. Yoga is simply to contortionist. And when I started doing that, I became very contortionist, very, very, supple. But the muscles started withering away. And I could see my body just, losing weight and changing. So I know I'm taking a long time, but I don't know how to talk about time. I really don't know. I know for one fact that time does not exist, because the reality of us is timeless. The reality of time, the reality of us is beyond time and space. And space means that when you are in the spirit body and you seem to be one place, and you think of Germany, for example, and you are here in Canada, okay, assuming you're in Canada, okay, the moment you say Germany, you're there. There's no time lapse. Why? Because there's no time and space in spirit form. And you might say, but there are people, there's down, there's ground I can walk. No, there is no body. But you don't miss the body, because all the senses of the body are more alive than they've ever been in the body. You see, I'm blind, but when I'm out of the body, I see so well. You see, I see colors I've never seen before. I feel the feeling of love all around me. Loneliness is impossible in the spirit form. So, so thank you for your question. It got me going here, but I hope that it was worth mumbling away. But thank you.
Thank you.
Are you satisfied somewhat?
Oh yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the group picture, honey.
Okay, we have another question from Frank.
Frank, who's Frank?
Hey, Burt. Frank from
I'm bringing him
Toronto.
on now. There he is.
Oh, hi, Frank. Oh, yeah.
Hi, how
You're
you
the
doing?
handsome one.
Oh, thank you. So my question was on forgiveness. Are there different levels of forgiveness? Because, is there a way of forgiving without dealing with the whole story?
Yes, and this forgiveness
the actual
begins
situation.
yeah, very, very good question. Very good. The forgiveness changes. In the beginning, it's very hard to forgive because you really believe you've been hurt, because you believe it to be true. But it takes a while to begin to understand the dynamics of it. The more you understand who you really are, the less valid the pain seems to be, the less real it is. Until such time when forgiveness becomes a natural thing to do, because nobody can hurt you unless you allow them to. Nothing can happen to you, you see, and so you forgive as a natural understanding of who you are. So this is the point. So start by, if you have certain things, like for example, you have a man you don't like at all, or someone that you hate, okay, take time to look at it. Don't feel bad for hating, okay? The point is, nothing is ever bad. Everything is a lesson to learn love, everything, okay? Don't throw it away and say, I shouldn't hate. If you say I shouldn't hate, the hate will increase, believe it or not. This is the contradiction of the human ego. So, and the ego can't stand when you resist something, you increase it. You see? So therefore, accept everything. But see that it's not true. Did change.
I know, honey. I don't know how
Can we
to.
go back to him?
I don't know how to do it.
Oh, here he is. Here he
Yeah,
is.
but
Okay.
I don't know how to do it.
Here I
Okay,
am.
let's. Okay, I
It
can.
switched to someone else.
Yeah, I see him here.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, here I am.
So where was I here? Okay, yeah, so the ego. So it's important in the beginning.
He's back. It's just it's automatically switched to someone else, and I didn't know how to get him back. Yeah,
Okay, is this him?
that's him.
That's him.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
if I speak, it comes back. Yeah.
Yeah, smile.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's the handsome
Okay.
one, right?
There you go.
I like your smile. I can see that. Nice teeth. Yeah.
Okay.
What was I
Thank you.
saying here?
You were talking about forgiveness being difficult at first,
Yes.
and how it becomes
Yes.
easier and more natural. As it
Yes.
goes
In the
along.
beginning, it is quite hard because we
Yeah.
say, "Oh,
Mhm.
he hurt me. He doesn't have right for me to forgive him," as if if you forgive him, he's still, as if you don't forgive him, you still, you know what I mean, like you're paying him back.
Yeah.
But all that suffers is you who holds it inside. So assuming that there's someone that you don't like at all, even thinking of them makes you angry. Stay with that, accept it
Yes.
fully, and see why the anger is still working. There's a part in us which called ego that doesn't want to forgive, and it wants to make it real. You see, I am right. I am right. See?
Right.
So the ego always wants to be right because it wants to assert itself that I am a body. And so it keeps asserting itself. Well, you see the game now. By attending to these talks, for example, you begin to see that you are spirit, really. You're a beautiful spirit who's full of love. And you are happy when you are loving. You are happy when you feel good. You see, so this is your true nature. When you feel good, you feel good. And you prefer that to anything else. Why? Because that's your true nature. When you hate someone, you might feel that anger going on inside you, but you're not happy. You might want to hurt this person. As it keeps on increasing, it actually takes a toll on your health. You can actually feel yourself more tired,
Right.
less energy. So is it worth it? No. So take that anger, take that hate, feel it inside you, see it for what it is, and you also see that it is also a fear of emptiness. In it, there is a little grain of whatever you call it, a little grain of that is afraid of emptiness. In other words, the fear of emptiness
Right.
is that we're going to disappear. If somebody has power over me, is making me feel less. That's what the ego says. So feeling less is a fear of emptiness.
Mhm.
You see? So begin to see that, understand that. And the moment you do, you begin to see how wonderful it is to just let go. So you forgive this person by forgiving also yourself of how you feel. It might not work right away. It might take a few times to do it. But every time you do it, and I can guarantee it, you are growing in your consciousness. You are growing in your awareness. You are growing as a human being. When it's completely gone, just taking a deep breath, there's a part of you that can breathe in again, feel alive again. You see, every time we
Right.
manage, we see others as less, we contract. We become smaller and smaller.
And you could always check back in, right, to see
That's right.
if the feeling is still there. Yeah.
Yeah. And don't try to
If
overcome
you
it.
still hate that person.
Yes. And if
Right.
you still feel the hate is there, that's okay. But don't get rid of it. See it for what it is. Keep understanding it. You see, by understanding it, you'll find it gets less and less and less. And that's a fact.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And
Thanks.
keep smiling.
Jagdish, you had a question again?
Was that?
Sure.
Yeah, we
I
have
was
a
just
question from
wondering,
Jagdish.
like when you say you forgive, but
Who?
it means
Right here. He's
the
here.
other
Oh, he's here. Oh,
Yeah.
guy,
Good.
yes.
if you say if you forgive somebody who has done something wrong to you, So mean that other guy is okay, he's right to do whatever he's doing?
No, no, he's not right. Nobody has a right to hurt another. Just like in the Second World War, we know that genocide or what Hitler tried to do. No, of course not. But the point is this, that when we are not able to forgive, we take that poison inside our system. And it blocks us completely from seeing what is so valuable in us. If you happen to forgive someone who had done a heinous act to your family, which is very, very hard to forgive, and I can understand that, but you find enough strength to forgive, you will reach an awakened state in almost overnight. And this has happened many, many times in history. I've heard, I do not know personally, I've heard people who were, their families were wiped out in the Second World War. And I was alive, I was 6 years old when the war started. And I've seen and heard tremendous things. But I've also seen people who were so grand that they knew if they don't forgive, they're gonna burn themselves out. And so by working it out and forgiving and praying, they managed. They found that in time, they actually elevated to the point of spirit. In other words, they grew in their stature. They grew in their understanding. You see? And also, there's another thing that is happening now in the fifth dimension is that more people are coming back into the body from the escalating medical science, speeding up the resuscitation process, right? And because of that, people are remembering things, but at the same time, they come back with a lot of love. I also wanted to say something else about this. Yeah, there's there were quite a few stories about people who had lost their families in the war. They and some in concentration camps, and the families went through hell. But the one who forgave, the one who was able to deal with it, the one who was even strong enough to pray for his enemies and pray for them to see what they're doing. In other words, he was strong enough not to hate. These people, in their stature, they were like saints. They become giants because forgiveness is a speedy road to awakening. And when you forgive someone who hates you or hurt you, or you forgive someone who you can't stand, whatever, that's always, or even to forgive yourself, for example, you might have hurt someone and you hurt them so badly that you started to hate yourself. So that will be another powerful forgiveness, to forgive yourself from that guilt, release yourself from that guilt. But sometimes it would be good if you have hurt someone is to go and admit it to them, even if they throw you out of the house. But by actually being confronting with that, that total forgiveness can bring tremendous healing powers and rejuvenating of our ability to see the truth of our nature. So I'm not saying that these things are easy, but we are here to learn these important lessons. If you don't learn them, then you keep repeating the same things that hurt you over and over and over again until we learn. So that is how it goes. Thank you for Mm.
Thank you.
So are we beginning to understand the power of forgiveness? I mean, it's an incredible road to early waking up. Now you might say, what do I need to forgive? Do you blame anyone? What you made a list of something, honey? Are you?
Well, it's just, I had a question actually about emptiness. When we're holding judgments and grievances,
Mm-hmm.
we're actually doing it as a man because we're afraid of emptiness. We're afraid of the peace that we might have.
Emptiness.
If we let those
Emptiness
go.
is always is the thing that makes us fear. When we face that fear, not only become to understand and even love emptiness, but most importantly, like Krishnamurti said in the quote you had, is that it brings a quieter mind. So the more you forgive, the quieter your mind becomes. And Krishnamurti was very strong with that. So if you're violent, if you're angry, if you hate, you deal with it and you begin to bring out the love in you, that very love in you brings you back into emptiness. This means that you start realizing who you really are, that your true nature is emptiness. And emptiness is number one in the four unknown facts of reality, which we can always call it God, or the collective essence of who we are. It's also unconditional love, because that's how we learn unconditional love, through forgiveness. See, unconditional love means loving unconditionally. I don't love you because you're wealthy and I can have your money, or I don't love you because you're so good looking, or I don't love you because of this or because of that. You love another because they're part of you. We are all part of each other. You see, right now we're talking to a few people. I don't see you, but I know you're there. But we're all brothers and sisters. We're all together, one family. And you begin to really, really feel it, because there is an understanding that comes that nothing is separate from anything else.
So in a case where you're in a bad mood, say for instance, you think your spouse is angry at you or not loving you, and now you're in a bad mood and you're saying in your mind, it's because, they were short with me this morning, or they were unkind to me, and if only they would apologize, I'll be in a better mood. But you're really doing it to yourself, because now you're treating them that way based on the thoughts you're telling yourself, instead of just being
which is
in the emptiness, where the love would flow.
That's right. The fear of emptiness. I'm going to be less. I'm treated as less than I am. You see? I'm treated as small. I'm treated as I don't matter. It's, in other words, it's emptiness that we fear. When that emptiness becomes a love rather than dislike, than this fear, that is the first unknown fact. And the second unknown fact is the fear. The fear holds us back all the time. It's called ego. Well, the more we begin to feel it and surrender it, or in other words, forgive it, automatically we begin to move until we become one with the first. And the first is the one of I am. The I am of you is the highest thing in you.
Oh, that's amazing, because now I'm thinking every time you're judging, you're really saying to yourself, I'm something else. And I'm trying to hold on to that something else.
That's right.
That's something rather than emptiness.
Right.
And then you're blaming an external source for it.
And the moment you start loving and the moment you start forgiving, you move closer and closer to that first one. You see, there are two known facts of reality. This is the hate part. This is the love part. You see, as you begin to understand, it begins to move up more and more and more until you become one.
That's
with
right.
the
And there are
first.
no external selves. That's just an
There
illusion.
are no
Okay.
external selves. The body makes us seem separate, and there's always the fear that when we die, we, we're not there. We're just, the pictures that we have. But in truth, your senses are more enhanced than ever before. You hear so much. You can hear miles away. You can hear through doors and windows. You see clearly through doors and windows, through walls.
Can forgiveness itself take us into an incredible transcendent state?
Yes, it depends upon the forgiveness. Yes, it's just, of course, because the moment you forgive, you are transcending your ego. The ego loves to hate. The ego loves to be, I am important, I am better than you. So that's ego, okay? But what happens is that as you get to know you are spirit, that ego starts to fall away. Now, that doesn't mean that you become smaller. It becomes you identify more with spirit. The body is just something you're carrying, you see? But the body also can be manipulated and trained to be in good shape. I mean, running helps you to build up your stamina. You exercise with light weights, for example, helps your body. Doing yoga helps your spine to become very supple. You see, if two people are in a car accident and the one who breaks his back is not the one who does yoga. But you see, because the spine is very supple. So the moment you train, like I do this rotation every day, right? It keeps the spine very supple. So it makes it stronger. So in other words, I do recommend exercise for the body to keep the body feeling good. When the body feels good, you begin to feel good too.
Is it more of a mental exercise? You really, because it's your mind. Even with time, it's a trick of the
Because
mind.
you're training the mind also through exercise.
Right, but the mind is what's telling you that.
And the mind keeps
you
telling.
age, you get weak, you get tired, you get sick,
That's
or
right.
you might have a pain. And instead of recognizing, oh, it's just a feeling roughly in my knee area, now you're thinking, oh, I sprained my leg, I broke my leg, I got to go to the hospital, it's going to last for days. But you really need to say to yourself, do I really even know what that is? And have I had pain before? And did it go away? I find for me, that's an amazing trick. It goes away like that.
I've seen tremendous healings take place in my years. I've done hypnotherapy for many years, and I've seen people heal. I had one who came to the Krishnamurti, said, I forgot her name. I don't think she minds if I use her name, but I forgot it. She came with her boyfriend in Victoria, and one time she said to me, she said, Burt, I have this side, and it's been hurting me for so long, and she went to doctors and she's had many treatments, but it never helped. However, what happened is that you don't know you.
I didn't know you back then.
No, you didn't know me back then. No. Yeah, and anyway, we were driven. I think they drove me back here. I beg your pardon. Memories are not very. I'm not very bright in memory, but anyway, we got here, and I gave her a treatment. She was with her boyfriend, and she married him. Yeah.
Hypnosis treatment?
Well, I did. Yeah, I did hypnotize her. Yeah, and we did it in the living room, and she wanted this treatment. So I gave her this treatment while her boyfriend went away. And when he got back, he was so surprised to see that the back problem she had it for many years and nobody could heal her. It was gone.
Wow.
And it's still gone. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about, but I don't know her name.
Oh, okay. I forgot. Anyway. So
forgiveness works not only with forgiving a person. It can also work with forgiving illness, but sometimes our illness is a cover for us secretly blaming a person.
Yeah, you see, there's nothing like holding guilt, holding an anger inside to really age you. It makes your body susceptible to all kinds of things going wrong. But the moment you start forgiving, oh my goodness, things begin to happen. Now you might say, Burt, you are blind. Why don't you heal it? Well, believe me, I tried everything. But something is happening to me which I don't understand. When I had I hope they don't mind talking about myself.
No,
think?
not at all.
Well, when I had that fever and I had the second
Second NDE.
second NDE, right? What had happened is that during the fever, my eyes could see 20/20. But the moment the fever went down, I went back to a fogginess. Okay, now what's happened lately, and this is in the last two weeks or so, I cover my eyes up and I meditate. And then when I take them off, I see for about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, as well as any 20/20 vision. That's true, right, honey?
Mm-hmm.
And then, boom, a fog comes, and I don't see anything anymore. It's gone. Everything is black again. But this has happened twice. So there is something in me which I haven't met yet, which I haven't forgiven yet, because I don't know what it is, that the moment I do it, I'm sure I'm going to get my sight back. But right now, I don't know what it is. And I'm pretty happy as I am because I've got the best woman in the world. And she's everything to me. So the need for me to heal my eyes is not that urgent, but I know that's going to happen, right?
I think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah. So anyway, but what I'm talking about is not myself,
well, it's a good example, actually.
Good examples, but
because a lot of times these
yeah.
things that we need to forgive are unconscious, and especially things that end up as body ailments. Sometimes they're tied to a blame of another person in the past.
Yeah,
if you really go into it.
It goes into it. Yeah, I did go into it quite a bit, but
Mhm.
nothing seems to be unearthed. So anyway.
So maybe it's meant to be done
So it's
in
meant
front
to
of
be.
the world.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So okay. So what we're talking here is the power of forgiveness. So when we say we end this topic today, it will be the last of the three sessions, but I hope and pray that many of you will start living the truths that you've heard, because it is more than worth it and it doesn't cost a penny. One of the things that I do recommend is forgive yourself. Little things as they happen, little things. I went on the cashier today and she snubbed me. How dare she treat me like that? Now, why do we hate it? Because you're being snubbed. Because it makes you feel smaller. You see, fear of emptiness. The ego is hurt. So therefore, see it for what it is and forgive it. And you've grown. You see, your compassion has grown. Your love capacity has grown all the time. Keep forgiving. I forgive little things about 40 to 50 times a day. And I love it because I get up in the morning and feel good. I go to bed and I feel good, tired, sleepy, but good. And it's lovely that way. And the energy is always there. So, are there any questions at all about forgiveness, or there's something that you'd like to add?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. So are there any? Yeah.
Hi, it's Deborah again. I don't really have a question, but
Where's Deborah?
I'm here.
Deborah,
There's a pop-up. I pop up. I don't really have a question, maybe just a request would be okay before we go. It's just sometimes are helpful and other times the silence is helpful. Could we spend just a few minutes in experience that you have that is inside of us, just in silence.
Instead, and for me to stop talking? Yeah, we can
Just
do that.
for briefly. Yeah,
Sure.
just to be with you.
Okay, thank you.
That would mean a lot.
Okay, okay. So, well, we'll do about, is that okay, Ralph? Where is he?
there.
That's fine.
There he
Bert,
is.
here.
Okay, so why don't
That's
we?
perfectly fine. I think it's a wonderful idea to
Okay, so let's do
experience
5 minutes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let's do 5 minutes, and then I have a beautiful quote from Krishnamurti to end it with. So we'll do that.
Why don't you do the Krishnamurti?
Oh, actually,
now?
why don't we use this quote to lead us into the quietness then?
Yes.
Okay. This is beautiful. Love comes into being when the mind is naturally quiet, not made quiet. When it sees the false as false and the true as true. When the mind is quiet, then whatever happens is the action of love. It is not the action of knowledge.
Excellent. Okay, so well, let's step 5 minutes. Close your eyes for a moment, please. Focus on the spot between the eyebrows. You don't see anything, just see the darkness, and that's okay. Some of you might even begin to see some light coming. If that happens, that's wonderful. Okay, just remain very, very still. Feel your whole body letting go. Feel that silence coming to you. Take a very deep breath. Oh. Totally let go. Totally let go. If thoughts come to your mind, that's okay. Don't fight them. Allow them as if you're just a detached bystander. Just like as if you're watching a parade going through your window. You don't attach anything. You just let it do what it does. Just be. Totally silent, totally quiet. I am the light. I am the light. Before you open your eyes, feel that you are the light itself. You are spirit. You are eternal. There is nothing to worry about. There is nothing to fret. There is only now. And now is the answer to life. This moment is complete. This moment is perfect. I am. I am. Now, feeling wonderful, feeling good and quiet, resolve that from now on, you are in charge, not your ego. I am the collective one, the collected one, the one being that is mentioned in the four unknown facts, the number one. I am. Okay, you may open your eyes. Peter.
Well, I would like to thank everyone for participating in this weekend with Burt and Susie, and thank the both of you for again joining us at the center in this new way online, and sharing with us your wisdom and many insights that you've gained through your long life. Thank you very much again, Bert.
Thank you for giving me the
And
chance.
anyone it's a it's really a true pleasure. And thank you also for becoming aware of our center this way. And if any of you are interested in other we have every month we have an online retreat uh, in a similar format. We also every weekend some kind of activity online. So you're very welcome to check out upcoming events by going to our website, krishnamurticanada.ca. And if you haven't done it yet, signing up on our mailing to stay up to date and on events that are upcoming. So I hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, Ralph. Thank you for hosting this event.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Good night.
Good night. Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Until we meet again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.